Okay, I have enough yarn around me, I'm sure, to fill a bathtub and take a yarn bath. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small place on the internet where I talk about my knitting life, my knitting adventures. My name is Isabelle, I am in France in Normandy, in a gloomy Normandy as per usual, no sun and mild temperatures, high humidity. I know that as I'm filming this on Monday 23rd of February 2026, some of you are experimenting extremely bad weather in the east coast of the United States. In France, we've had a lot of rain and some areas have severe floods. So if you are stuck into bad weather, I hope I'm going to be keeping you company. Today it's going to be a regular episode about my knitting adventures with a little twist because I need to get some motivation into finishing what I've casted on at the end of the year. I was feeling a bit better and I did cast on all of the things. So, and I'm a bit anxious about that. So I will talk about that a bit later on and why I'm filming this video today, mostly for myself and maybe a little bit for you. So if this is of any interest to you, please stay tuned. And as we are a knitting channel, what am I wearing? I am wearing my extremely beautiful Rebel cardigan that I knit between April and June of 2025 last year. So Rebel by Anchor Strict. And I used some knitted yarn that one of the lovely yous sent me. I will write the name of the yarn on the screen because I can't pronounce it. And I paired it with Titicaca by Holzgarn in Camellia. And I went to one of my local yarn stores, Au Fil de l'Eau, here to match the knitted with some either mohair or alpaca fiber to knit it with. The Titicaca is a bit lighter than the mohair, so you can see a bit of marling effect, but it's extremely subtle because they are very close to each other in color. The Rebel cardigan has a very interesting construction. You start with the collar and then you knit on the shoulders and then you cast on for the front and then you knit the back and the front separately until you join for sleeves and then you knit flat. And then you pick up for sleeves and you knit the sleeves. The pattern is extremely well explained. It's very well made, no problem whatsoever. I was a bit of gauge, I had no issue. Which size did I make? I made size 4. So it's perfectly fitting to me. I made it a bit longer than the shortest version, and I made shorter than the longest version. So I just made it for myself, the proper length for myself. The collar and the fronts are 1 by 1 ribbed. The rest of the sweater, the back and the sleeves are stockinette. Perfect. And there is big love by her that I may want to be making one day. And as it is a bit cold, I'm wearing an oldie and a goodie. One you haven't seen, once again, in a long time, and I try to rotate what I wear on screen so that you can see some of what I've made. So I've made that in 2021, during the summer of 2021. And it was bundle or a mystery box that I bought at the time for Trellis' birthday. Trellis is a French indie dyer who's based in Greece. And so the colors are not made any longer, but so she sent a ball of merino single and a ball of mohair, silk mohair, what's the name? So it was merino single decay and Poseidon kilt silk lace. And so I used everything, and the pattern was given with the box. I did like very much her first boxes because a pattern was included with the yarn, and I like that. Whether I make the pattern that is included or not is another question. But I like when the dyer has paired the yarn that they've dyed with a pattern from one of their friends. So it was a pattern by Maria Zilaku. I think she's made all of the pattern for free. It was not free at the time, and it's fresh peonies. And Maria designed the pattern on purpose for that yarn. So I think it's one of the first finished object that I talked about on my channel in 2021. So it's been 5 years, right? It's been quite a long time. And I really like this very pale pink and pale green association, the lace and everything. One thing that I learned knitting that pattern is that I should be very careful when I make I-cords on shawls. I've learned my lesson. You see this one is a bit too tight, and I usually make, so the finishing I-cord is not too tight. This one, the top one is made as you need, and it's way too tight. So I've learned my lessons. I now am much more careful with my I-cords and the finishing of my shorts. So this is what I'm wearing today. I like to wear them together because the shawl is quite light and quite warm due to the silk mohair. So, I think they do go very well together, and I'm very comfortable into these two ones today. Okay, why am I making this video today? As I just said, I need some motivation. At the end of the year, I was feeling better after a lot of health issues, and I have a bit more ahead of me, but anyway. And I did cast on all of the things. Some of the projects are quite demanding in terms of either having a difficult chart, and I will link here and down below the video I made about the process I have when I need to, or when I want to need a difficult chart or a difficult pattern, how I do process all of that so that I can make it through a difficult project. And difficult is very relative to you or to me. And so some of them have a difficult chart, a complicated chart. I need to knit at the table because I have to have the chart in front of me. Some of them are not difficult per se, but they have multiple yarn balls. The Mussel by Marianne Isayer. The Mussel, I need to be seated at the table because there are 4 different yarns that you are using. And full disclosure, it was very long, much too long. It's knit sideways, and I unraveled it, so I need to cast it on again after having made 2 wedges. Okay. But anyway, I have the Mussel undergoing, even if I have to cast it on again. And this one I only can knit also at the table. And some of the other projects are not that difficult, but I have one shawl that I've been setting aside because I don't have the mindset to get to it. I'm on the final motif and rows and more than 500 stitches. It's complicated to knit, even sitting at my couch now. I need to be sitting at the table, and I can't take it with me when I go to my knitting sessions with my friends. So that's another one that is stalling for now. Another one that is in the bad corner is one because the yarn bleeds on my hands. So it's in the naughty corner for now, and I will need to get to it, but it's still in a bag in front of my eyes. And I finished the blanket because I decided I was making one less color section good. I'm almost finished on the cassis for my son because now it's just a matter of the length. So I've finished everything but the last ribbing, and if I need to make it a bit longer before I do the ribbing, and he's coming home most probably in April, so this is waiting. And I understood that I'm not a multiple work in progress person. I like to see the progress on the projects I'm knitting. Like to have them finished in my hands, and having all of these works in progress is giving me some kind of anxiety, and I need a bit of motivation to get to them, to finish them, to put the time that needs to be put to finish them. And as I'm back to work now full time, I have much less time. And there are all of these beautiful yarns that I have bought or that you have sent me that are just waiting for my attention. And today, what I'm going to be talking, I was afraid when I was, kind of making a list of what I was wanting to be talking about in my project lineup, because I have all of these bags that I've pulled out of my room storage, so that the yarn is next to me and I want to cast them on. So I need to finish what I've been doing, or at least one, and cast on a new one. And in that lineup, I may not be even talking about everything today because it may be just too long. There are 11 projects, all of them being either sweaters or vest, but one which is a dicky and a hood, with a hood. But other than that, all of these, so I would say 10 projects that are sweaters that I have the yarn for. I have had a pattern in mind for them for a long time, and now I've sit at my table with the yarn and with the pattern, and I did match yarn with pattern, and that I want to be casting on, but I don't want to cast on when all at the same time and be very anxious about the ones that won't be, moving forward. And as I've already said, I don't like much the videos where people talk about maybe the 10 most famous patterns right now and stuff like that. And so that's one thing. The second thing is, I know that when I mention patterns that either I want to make or that I am making, and all of these I have the yarn for. It's not like if I'm daydreaming about a pattern in a book or on Ravelry and which yarns. No, I have the yarn for. And a lot of you have said that this was very useful to you, so that maybe first you discover new patterns, and second, this is a real review. For now, not about the pattern, but because I haven't cast them on and I can't give you a honest review the same way I did about the Rebel, for example. But these are extremely high in my want to make list, and I have the yarn, and most of them I have the pattern, and if I don't, I will buy them on the spot. And these have been in the back of my mind since I've cast on all of the things. Because when I did cast on all of the things, I was thinking, what will I cast on next? So I know now that I need to finish what I've been undertaking, and I want to get to this beautiful project. And this is a kind of a motivation video for me to put the time that is needed and to be patient if I don't have enough time, because I know I have beautiful projects that are waiting for me. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of that, and if not all of it, part of it, and maybe I will save the rest for a further video. I don't know. And I have them in order of my cast on priority and what I want to cast on first. And the first one, there is a contender between number 1 and number 2. The first one is Petricor by Rachel Isley. I've had that pattern in my library for a very, very long time. So that's the first thing. And the yarn has a story. The yarn that decided me to choose that pattern, and also because my son, I gave a list of patterns to him and he chose that one, is because he brought me some yarn from Berlin. And if you've already been there, you know that this yarn has traveled all over Europe before reaching me, because he was, keeping it in his bag and then traveling, and then going back home and making maybe a smaller bag so that he can come and visit me. And he was perpetually, all of the time, forgetting about taking the yarn to me. But I finally got it. So I have 3 skeins or 3 balls of this Shuffle Edition 6 yarn. The yarn is 50 grams per 300 meters. I'm going to show the tag to you, the numbers and the colorways are listed there. And you have a little here picture of what the color changing yarn is going to be looking like. And he got it at Yarn Over Berlin. I sent him over there and I said, the ladies have bought yarn from them already. The ladies are going to be giving you good advice, and they suggested this. I have 3 balls. And so that's the first part of the story for this sweater. This is the first one I want to be casting on once I finished either a sweater or a big piece, one of the big shawls I'm knitting. The second part of the story for this sweater is that I finally, and I will talk about that in my no buy or mindful buy year project, I finally got a cone of Super Soft by Holzgarn in Nougat. And if you've been here for even the longest time, you know that Nougat is the one yarn that threw me into buying much yarn because it wasn't available. And the ladies at my local yarn store, it's once again Au Fil de l'Eau, they said that Nougat is always out of stock, and I asked them to place 2 cones in their order. It was back in November. The first order they made from Holzgarn, it was not available. The second order, they could only get 1 cone for me. And so I bought 1 cone and 4 balls because there are 2 projects I want to be making with that. The first one being Petricor with the shuffle wool that my son brought me. I think it's going to be perfect. The gauge is matching for these 2 ones. Will it match the sweater? I think so. If it doesn't match the sweater, I think I can make it work. So it's going to be a perfect project, a sweater for the intermediate season here in Normandy, or even the summer, the colder summer days. So that is the first one into my lineup. Okay, next, the Renaissance sweater by Eleanor Mortensen. I've been wanting to be making that sweater for more than 2 years now, I think. When was it published? It was published in February 2024. It's been published 2 years ago, and since it's been published, I've been willing to be making that sweater. And I had no yarn to be making it, so it was in the back of my mind. And with time, I did select some yarn to make it, and I do have the yarn, and it's the second one in my lineup. The yarn is at a smaller gauge, and it's bigger yarn than the Shuffle Edition 6. It's the Zauer Ball by Shuffle that I got to make that one. I should have enough in 1 ball, but if not, one of my local yarn stores, Repelote Mercerie, is carrying these balls. And it's 100 grams per 420 meters. So it's a fingering weight. And this one is also another one of these blue self-changing yarn. You have the colorways there. And when I went to one of the knitting sessions and I picked up the ball that she had for me, I talked with her and I said, I want to make the Renaissance sweater. What would you pair it with? And she said, just the plain Marilyn by Ice Sayer, the plain one. So Marilyn is 208 meters per 50 grams, so it's about the same gauge. And it's 80% wool and 20% linen or flax. What do they say? They say flax, but I guess it's linen. The Zauberball I haven't said, and the edition 6 are 100% wool. They should be about the same gauge. And this colorway is the plain beigey white. It's E0, and she carries it on a regular basis. And she said it doesn't really matter. The dye lots do not really matter. The colors are pretty consistent around dye lots. So I have enough to make the Renaissance sweater. One ball of the Zauberball should be enough. And with this background, the white or clear background, beigey background, even though I don't think it does complement me very well and it doesn't suit me very well, this one is not very creamy or very warm. It's rather... It's a warmer, it's not white, it's not plain white, it's a creamy white, but it's not a very warm cream white. So I think it's going to be okay. And I think the color difference is going to be enough, and it's going to be very funny to see also how the contrast is going to be when there is more white in the Zauberball than there is blue. So project number 2, Renaissance sweater. And one of my goals, because I'm not sure my knitting friends are going to do that. One of them has already done the sweater, and we had said that we would be maybe making that sweater for the next Fil de la Manche, to be all dressed up in our Renaissance sweater, but some people are chickening out, and I know it can be a very impressive pattern, but you know, I have a process to be knitting these. So second sweater I'm going to be casting on is this one. Okay, next project has been chosen according to the yarn. One of the lovely yous sent me that self-changing yarn that is 100% wool. So you have 3 here, you have 2 here, you know, there are bit different colors, and the last one is here. I may not be able to carry everybody there, but you see, self-changing yarn, and it's yarn by Fiber Arts Shed. The colorway is Coral Sea. It's 100% wool, and it's a decay weight, approximately 110 meters, and I think it's 50 grams. I'm not sure I see it there, but I think it's 50 grams, but they say it's decay. Anyway, so this self-changing yarn was one of my yarn kryptonite. One of the yarns I really wanted to be knitting with, and you send me that. So you see there are changing colors between blue and coral and tile and bluish green. So there is one set here, there is another set here, and I don't know if I am going to be just letting the yarn do what it wants, or if I'm going to be organizing, because some of them are similar, but similar on the outside. It doesn't say anything about what I'm going to be finding on the inside. So I might just let the yarn do what it wants to be doing. So after I received the yarn, so let me take one that is a bit more colorful and maybe one that is a bit more muted. I'm not even sure that it's going to be that way once knitted, but anyway, once I received that, I did look for a pattern to be making, and one of my requirements was to be using all of the yarn. I'm not sure I will be able to do that. I may, but I'm not sure I will be able to do that. And the other requirement was to be making a colorwork sweater. I'd rather have a colorwork sweater with that yarn rather than having, knitting either a shawl with the self-changing. I mean, I guess the traveler by Andrea Maury would be a Traveler Call would be a good one, but I want a sweater. I want to use most of it, and I want to make color work with it. I could cast on a sweater and just use that yarn, yes, but with a sweater I'm not sure I would have enough anyway, but I prefer to have it in a color work. So that was my two requirements, a sweater and color work with that yarn, self-changing yarn. So not all color work can go with that type of yarn, right? And the next thing was, what yarn am I going to be choosing to knit it with? And if possible, yarn from my stash. So I looked in my stash. I already had one in mind, and I think this one is going to match perfectly. This yarn is Nobis. Nobis is yarn from the Pyrenees that is made of 20% of yarn from the sheep from the valley, what she calls the sheep from the valley. It's the lady who has the mohair farm in Olon in the Pyrenees. So 20% of mohair and 80% of yarn from the sheep from the valley. And the sheep from the valley are just sheep that are raised for their milk or their meat. The fleece is not what the farmers use them for. So she collected the yarn from the sheep from the very valley where she lives, and she mixed it with mohair. It makes a very, I think, a cool grayish, whitish type of color. It's a cool color, and I think it pairs very well with the self-changing yarn here. I have plenty to make a sweater, so I think this is what I am going to be doing. So keep in mind a blue, teal, coral self-changing yarn and a gray, whitish, grayish background. So and for decay. So at some point, and on several occasions, I got to look for a pattern for that. And I was looking and looking and looking. I have several in mind. The one that I always come to is a free one that is free on the Biscotte yarn website. Biscotte, I think they are in Canada. And it's the Seascape by Biscotte Yarn. And so, you know, that yoke that has some kind of arrows type of motif, simple motifs. And you can see on the pattern, some people have used self-changing yarns. Some people have used stripes of two different colors or several different colors for the little arrows, and it does fit perfectly my current trend, which is, you know, motifs in stripes. And I will attach the video once again, and I will link it down below where I talked about it. You can look at the projects on Ravelry. There are 208 projects as I'm filming this, and it's a free pattern. I think it's a very interesting pattern for self-changing yarn. What do you think? Do you think that would be good? I do think so. I do think so. So, you know, please give me your advice, and if you think these two ones are going to be going well together, the contrast is going to be contrasty enough or low enough, and the pattern will match. I have other in my mind, but this one is the main one that I'm thinking of. And so Seascape, but at least a pattern with the yarn from Australia and the yarn from the Pyrenees is going to be my third cast on. Okay, next project is an idea. I have some very beautiful yarn from Frédéric at Atelier Pure Laine. This one is her Hampshire down 2-ply. It's 2000 meters for 500 grams, so it's fingering weight. So that's the one, her Hampshire from 2023. You see, I've had that in my stash for quite some while. And also this one is her Romney yarn. So she had Romney fleece from one of her friends, and at some point she made the yarn. I'm afraid I've lost the label on that. And what I have in my Ravelry library is 400 meter for 1,000 grams. So once again, it's fingering weight. So I bought them at the same time, and I bought them in July 2023, and I think it's the first time I went there, or maybe the second time. Anyway, what I want to be making with these two ones, I want to make sweaters with these ones. I've already used the Romney, or I've used the Hampshire. Yes, I've used the Hampshire and the Pathway Shawl by Mayu Kallio, and I absolutely love that yarn. It's really sticky. It holds onto itself. It's very warm. It's very light. It smells very good. I can tell you. I can tell you. It was on the table next to me, and I was already smelling the cone from there. One thing is, this yarn is very creamy, but that's the way the yarn is. It's the way the natural colorway of the ship is. It's really creamy, and I think it doesn't fit me very well. I don't think it complements me very well. So I had that yarn in my mind that I wanted to be making for a very, very, very long time, and I found an idea. The idea, first I bought some Surrey alpaca from Laurie, from Jeux de Teinture, the natural and undyed one, the one that she dyes onto, and I made the jaunty with one of her colorways. So that's the Surrey, and her Surrey, and also during the pop-up that was at Repelote Mercerie, Tricot et Stitch came there, and I got also their mohair. So it's mohair and silk, 70% kid mohair and 30% silk. Once again, it's very light figuring. The meterage is 420 meters per 50 grams, and it's about the same yardage for the Surrey alpaca by Laurie, and it's the kawaii colorway. So I have these, I have 4 skins of each in this kind of cold, pale lavender or purplish, you know, more purple than lavender, cold purple, and the plain white one. And my idea, after having been thinking about how can I use the yarn from Frederic, I want to be knitting that yarn that has been in my stash for 3 years now. I want to be using it, and how can I do that? And the first idea was to pair it with the white Surrey alpaca, the undyed one, and then I also got that one to do maybe the same thing. And pair it with that so that I can make either, a sweater or something, and it will make that creamy white that is not very good against my skin, I think. Change a bit of the color with either the Surrey or mohair, or it may be also other type of mohair. Once I had that idea, one pattern came to me, and a friend of mine gifted it to me. It's Eternal Sunshine by Elise Bonai. And so the pattern is in English and in French, and the gauge is going to be matching that. And you will recognize, I really love this type of cables that are lining up and making some rays from the collar to the yoke and then to the body of the sweater. I did absolutely love my Sorel sweater, that the same kind of idea. And with the yarn, what I'm thinking about doing is maybe just doing the cables on the yoke with either the Surrey or the mohair as color work, and the rest of the sweater in either the Romney or the Hampshire, because there are other patterns I can be doing. At first I think I will prefer with the Surrey, with the white one. Make the rays the white one, and the rest of the sweater. I don't think they do go together that well. We'll see. I will have to swatch and try out with both of them and make a couple cables and with both of them. but I think that's what I want to be doing. So I first got this undyed Surrey alpaca for that very purpose, and then I got the other Surrey because I really loved the color. And if I don't use the tricot stitch in that type of project, there are many other projects I can be using it. So it's project number 4. Okay, next, which some yarn that is in one of Frédéric's bags. When I go there, I usually try to get one of her bags. I love her bags. They are very sturdy canvas, and I love the design of Atelier Pure Laine, so I usually get one of her bags. In that bag is living all of the Ulysse yarn that I unraveled. I don't think this one has been unraveled. Yes, it's been unraveled. That I unraveled from my half and half triangle wrap. And the half and half triangle wrap, let me get at least maybe 2 balls that are of the same size. The half and half triangle wraps, I did make that very huge shawl with the Ulysse yarn by Dererum Natura in Iroise and in Ciel, I think. Or it's the light blue and, some kind of a green here, a bit emerald green. And I absolutely love the Dererum Natura yarn, Gilliatt being one of them, Ulysse being the other one that I've both knit with them and I can vouch for them. And the half and half triangle wrap was getting to be really heavy, and I was not wearing it. So I decided to unravel it and reclaim the yarn. And the yarn has been sitting there since then. And from time to time, I would go there and open the bag and she would say, knit me, knit me, knit me. And as the time went by, I found the pattern for the Ciel colorway. So the pattern that I want to be making with the Ulysse yarn from Dererum Natura is the Traveler Hood by Andrea Mori. One of my friends bought it for me for either my birthday or for Christmas, something like that. We exchanged patterns. I bought patterns for her and she bought patterns for me. And the Traveler Hood is going to be perfectly matching the gauge, I think. It's been already made by other people with that yarn. And what really attracted me was also the fact that Andrea Maury made it in that pale sky blue type of color. And I think it's really perfect. So the Traveler Hood is going to be the number 5, I think. Yes, it's number 5. Number 5 with also the Iroise colorway. Because once I had found a pattern for the sky colorway, or the Ciel colorway, I wanted to find a pattern for Iroise. Because it can stay just alone in the bag once, I get to knit the Traveler Hood, right? It can't stay alone there. And as I was bringing the pattern on my screen, I realized it's not the right gauge, I would think. So it's Carta by Frigg Tain. Carta I've had in my mind for a long time, but I don't think, because it's more a Gilliatt type of gauge than Ulysse. I will have to swatch. But this is kind of the idea of I was going for with the green one, with the Iroise one, some kind of a stylish oriental type of vest and or sleeveless cardigan. I love Carta a lot. Maybe I can make it work, maybe not, but maybe not, because it's 6 millimeter needles and 6.5. So just scratch that. I will have to find something. But I guess you can agree with me that once I've knit the Traveler Hood with the sky colorway, the Ciel colorway, Iroise can stay alone in its bag. It's going to be too sad. So I will find something for Iroise. It was bugging me. I had found a pattern for Iroise and then I, talking about it, I thought it's not going to be working. So I did look for something. And I found very quickly, a pattern that I'm sure is going to be matching, because I still have some quartz. I did not take it out and I can go and fetch it and place it in the bag with what is left of the other Ulysse. That I made the Sotabos shawl by Elena Soler Jensa from 52 Weeks of Shawls with quartz, and I do have 1,000 meters in stash that is left, and I'm sure that I can make it work with the Iroise for the Alyssum sweater by Tomomi Yashimoto that I talked about last week. I think it's the right gauge, and I have enough for the flowers in quartz and for the background in Iroise. Do you think it's going to be working? I'm sure it's going to be working. So great. I was very sad I had lost my idea, and I'm very happy I've found another one. Okay, next, 2 other beautiful yarns from Frédéric at Atelier Pure Laine that I have had in my stash for quite some while. The Inédite, which is her Hampshire with yak that I bought last summer when I went to visit her, and the yak that it's 50% merino wool and 50% yak that she's selling from the mill from Feltin, and that's not her own, I'm sure, yarn that is there, but in the Inédite, that's her own, and it's 20% yak, I think, 30% yak, 30% yak. So both of them are 3-ply, and I have been wanting to be knitting something with these 2 beautiful ones for a very long time. And finally, when I bought and I got the 52 Weeks of Sweaters, the latest book by Laine Magazine that is so successful, I haven't talked about it really because I'm going to be talking about it in my Mindful by year once again at the end of February. But I got the book, and in that book is extremely successful. The Laine Publishing said in their newsletter that they can't stock it. All of the issues are all of the books are sold as pre-sales, and they can't sell it the normal way for now. And they have sold over 10,000 copies of the book. It's a huge success. And for these 2 extremely beautiful yarn, I have 2 patterns in mind. The first one is Frigg by Anna Slovard Knitwear, and I think it would match the yak very well, because I guess the pattern, the sample is on this brown colorway. The yak is more grayish brown than plain brown or warm brown, and I like that better. And what I like on Frigg is that there are some kind of lines in the front of the sweater on the design, split hem, lower back, positive ease. It is, and front and back of the sweater, it is fitting perfectly the very simple Baba line, even though it's more close to the body than what the Baba sweaters that I've been talking about, and I will link the video down below is, but I think it's matching the gauge, so it's for DK and 4mm needles. I'm not sure what she recommends. I will have to swatch, but it's 266 meters per 100 grams. So I guess I can make it work because there are 9 sizes. So even if my gauge is not the correct one, I will make it work. So I think Frigg is going to be the one pattern that I'm going to be knitting with the yak. And Tain by Rebecca Clow is going to be the one that I'm going to be knitting with the Inédite, which is with her Hampshire down fleece production and the yak. And Tain is for DK. It's these also very simple raglan lines, large raglan lines, and I've self-drafted a t-shirt last year with large raglan lines, but these ones has some kind of ribbing on the shoulder. I have the book, but I haven't. Yes, I think it's ribbing on the shoulder. To make a very large raglan line, I love that silhouette very much. I love raglan, and I love apparent raglan, and it's a new take. Not really a new take, because you can have many different type of raglan lines, but this one is, I think perfectly matching the inedit yarn, and I think it will make it shine. Okay, next one that was prompted by the 52 weeks of sweater book. Once I saw the brick pattern by Maria Jesus Camus, I'm not sure, I'm butchering your name, I'm very sorry. And I saw the gauge. This one is a slipover, the shape I've been thinking of since I saw Gudrun Johnson published the Riggy's vest. It's about the same line, I would say. It's not the same pattern, but it's the same kind of idea. A color that melts into the body of the slipover or of the vest. Brick has ties on the sides, which Ridges doesn't have, but also a contrasting color at the top of the collar and a vertical line in front of the vest. Very similar idea and similar look. And once I saw the pattern in the 52 weeks of sweaters, I thought it clicked. I have yarn in my stash. It's the Isayer tweed that I bought a couple months ago when my local Repelote Mercery yarn store stored it in that very nice blue. It's navy color. It's 200 grams per 50 meters, so it's fingering weight. It's going to be matching the gauge for Tain. And I really love the tweed yarn by Isayer, the tweedy bits. I hope you don't hear my stomach growling. I'm very hungry, and it's past lunchtime, my lunchtime. And so I like these flecks, I like these tweedy bits, I like the touch of it. And in the muscle, I have sort of a bottle green one and a beige one that I could do the contrast with. I think the bottle green is going to be too dark, but the beige one could fit, and it's going to be exactly the same gauge. It's exactly the same yarn. So this is number 7, considering that the Ulysse de Rerum Natura was only one, even though there are 2 patterns. And the Yak and Inedit by Atelier Pure Laine, there are also 2 patterns, but I did group them in one. So yeah, it's idea number 7. Yeah, idea number 7. I'm not sure what I said just before, even though that's going to be 8, 9 projects for now. I'm never ever going to go and see the end of that. Okay, next, 2 projects that may be for a later time because they are with heavier yarn, even though some of it is been with decay and mohair, so not sure I'm gonna be able, or I may need that during the summertime for the colder days that are going to be coming next winter. We are still in winter, but you see I have so many plans. So next idea is Marta. I've already talked about it. It's Marta by Sitzel Grow. It's in 52 weeks of easy knits. And as I was knitting the Cassis sweater or the slipover for my son, I sort of stumbled upon the rest of this Burel yarn that I got in the Pyrenees so long time ago. And it's by the Saran-Colin mill, and it's not made and produced any longer. And I did swatch, and the gauge matches. So it's a very bulky yarn, very dry yarn. And I made the cool jacket by Neringa Rouquet by holding this yarn double because it was matching the gauge. This sample I've made with 6.5 millimeter needles, and it matches the gauge of the Marta slipover. So Marta is knit sideways, and then you embroider some other color on top of it, and I have, the Ulysse in the sky blue, and I have other yarn that can be used to do that project. And when I was knitting the Cassis for my son, I thought I need to be finishing up. I think I have just enough to knit Marta, and I like the very simple line of it. I like the idea. Marta is covering a bit of the shoulders and I'm always cold there, so I think it's gonna be a quick project that I can sneak in or keep for next winter, but I want to be making that. And as I am talking about the project for my son, that prompted me to retrieve the yarn from Saran-Colin. I'm almost done, and I want just to be quickly saying that I absolutely love the fabric that the yarn from Laine sous les pommiers, the taupe colorway, the 3-ply and taupe colorway, and the mohair from the Pyrenees from Paulin is giving me. I absolutely love the combo, and I'm a bit sad that I won't be able to make a Baba looking sweater with that. I love the material here. I love the way it looks, the way it feels. It's extremely soft, extremely warm. And so I just have that left on the cone, and I have 4 more balls of the same yarn, supposedly yarn weight, but the yarn here on the cone is extremely densely plied and twisted, and it has a very different, not so much a different color, but a very different look and feel than the one that I have in the balls. I had them here. So you can see the color is not so much different, but the twist on the yarn is extremely different. This one on the cone is much tightly twisted. It's very ropey. It has no elasticity, and this one has a lot of elasticity. So maybe blocking will, I will see how the sweater for my son blocks. But you see, the colors is gonna be okay, and in particular, if I use it with a mohair, it's gonna be okay. But the look of the yarn is very different, and I'm not sure I can use both in the same sweater. I will have to try, and I will see what blocking is gonna give me with the Cassis sweater for my son. But once again, a bigger gauge sweater, a Baba type of sweater. I love the yarn combination here and the color that is produced. I'll have to see. It's on for a later project, or maybe it's gonna be something I will cast on quite quickly because it's gonna be a quicker project on bigger needles. But anyway, I was thinking making a Baba sweater for myself if I can make this work. Okay, so Marta was number 8 on my paper. Baba was number 10, the last one, but I've already talked about it. So Baba, I guess, was number 9. And now it's going to be the number 10. And number 10 is the yarn that prompted me to want to knit that sweater. So the yarn is one of my kryptonites, and it's Corée Confetti by La Bien-Aimée, and one of you sent me a sweater's quantity of Corée Confetti in Grey Bow, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Grey Bow. Grey Bow was one of my favorites. And you said you had bought the yarn from France. You sent it to me from Australia, so you received it in Australia, and you send it back again to me. Since I received the yarn, I knew what I was going to be doing with it, and I've been receiving at the end of last year, and I haven't got to knitting it, and it's a heavier weight yarn, so it may be waiting for a bit, but I know I want to be making Perennial by Noragon. It's in the worsted book by La Bien-Aimée. It's made with that yarn. I'm not sure Perennial uses the same color exactly. No, Perennial uses just Corée worsted, not the confetti one. But it's the same yarn weight, and I think it's gonna be perfect. I've already tried to knit that sweater with the yarn from the Pyrenees, carded mohair, but the yarn was too small. And it was not the right gauge, so I unraveled and I set it aside. So I think I'm going to be making Perennial by Noragon with the Corée Confetti. I think it's going to be perfectly matching the pattern. It's knit flat, I don't mind, and I absolutely love these flecks of colors. And of course, this is one of my kryptonites that is now in my hand, because as I used to say, yarn is the sneaky beast that finds its way to me. And I love these flecks. Corée confetti is not made any longer. La Bien-Aimée uses all of the little pieces from the mill that she mixes with the Corée to make the confetti yarn. But now she's making some other type of, she's using some other type of base to make the same kind of idea. So you still have some yarn from her that is looking like this, but not the same weight and not the same base. And I absolutely love the feel of the Corée confetti, which is Corriedale. Yeah, it's 50% Corriedale and 30% natural fibers and 20% La Bien-Aimée recycled threads. So yeah, it's Corriedale base, and I love the touch of it. I've never knit with Corriedale, and it was becoming one of my kryptonites also that I wanted to be using, and I've never been using Corriedale. So it's gonna be the one. Perennial is gonna be there, and I will cast it on whenever I will cast it on. I need to get going. I've been filming for almost 2 hours, and I will stop here. There was one other yarn I wanted to be talking about, but I have no pattern attached to it, so let's just forget about it. And this is going to be it for today. You see, I have a full lineup of projects where I paired some of my yarn with patterns, or some patterns with yarn from my stash. I have more than a year lined up in front of me, I think, with the kind of rhythm I'm been knitting. And all of them, I want to get to them. I want to cast all of them on. And my plan is, once I finish something, I can cast on a new thing. So you see, I finished the macaron blanket, and I'm almost finished on the Cassis sweater. For now, I also want to finish Mar by Natasha Hornby. Once I finish that, I will cast on Petricor, and I will cast on, maybe soon after that, depending on how it's going, I will cast on the Renaissance sweater. These are the two ones at the top of my lineup. These are the two ones I want to be casting on first. Maybe I do something else, and all of the other ones are going to go after that. And this video is also to motivate myself to use some of the beautiful yarn I have in my stash. I haven't talked about everything because there is yarn that some of you sent me, but I'm still uncertain about the pattern I'm gonna be making. There is yarn that some of my sons have offered me, yarn from Laine Paysanne. I have a pattern in mind, but I'm not sure, so I haven't been talking about it. And I also did bring it with me, but I did not talk about it because I'm not quite sure about the pattern I'm gonna be using. And I'm not sure if this video is motivating me or is making me more afraid and stressed out about everything that I have in front of me and in my stash that I want to be making. But I think it's more of a motivation for me than being very afraid of what I have. And thing is, I love all of the yarn that I have. You know, some people can destash. I've seen some of my friends from my knitting groups giving away or destashing yarn. I can't do that because I love everything. That's my problem. I love everything that I have, and I have ideas for most of everything that I have. So there you have it. You know the first two sweaters that I'm going to be casting on once I get to finishing some of my things, and then it's gonna roll as a quiet river down from there with all of the yarn that is around me, on the table, in bags, next to me, on the ground. And I do really love this kind of activity that is pairing yarn with patterns or pairing patterns with yarn and daydreaming about patterns. And it all boils down to something that I will end up making and wearing. And this is what is motivating me. So I hope you liked it, my friends. Do you have a lineup for your stashed yarn, or do you have a lineup for patterns you want to be casting on? Did I give you ideas talking about all of that? I hope I did not, influenced you too much into buying more. I hope I can influence you into buying a pattern to match yarn from your stash. That would be a very good thing. And the sun is coming in, so that's going to be the end of the video. I hope this video is going to find you well. I know the world is still going crazy. The weather for some of you is still going crazy, and some of you are still also suffering in your body from illness or chronic illness or illness you're not sure about, and it's very, very stressful. And I hope that this little video was like a little rainbow, a bit of sunshine into a great day. The same way the Normandy sun is coming out and is gonna be leaving us in not too much time. But anyway, I hope I did entertain you for a little while, that I did interest you, I did pique your interest, and I hope that will contribute to make joy and happiness into your life as you are knitting on your beautiful project, because we do have to actively work on that. It's not going to be coming all by itself, in particular in this very strange world we are living in. And what I have to say about that is that I do appreciate the knitting community and the yarny community that we have here and that is on Ravelry or elsewhere. You are absolutely extraordinary people, unique people, and better people than the ones who are leading out countries. I think I can say that. So, yeah, I do hope you have a wonderful weekend, my friend, filled with happy little stitches. And I hope I will see you next time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top. Top. Yarn. The yarn is 50 grams. Per 300 meters I would say the meterage is gone. Yeah, 420 grams. Absolutely love my sorrel sweater, that the same kind of, some kind of a green for the ciel colorway. That I need to retrieve. Where is it? So the pattern that the yarn is another one of my kryptonites. It's Cory Confetti by La Bien-Aimée, and maybe I should do that a bit better. Pyrenees. Another, the corded mohair, but